Close voice triads are fundamental building blocks in being able to find and build chords on the neck. But without a complete catalog of how that matrix lays out on the fretboard, you're just stuck leveraging the triads that you may already know. Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you're going to learn every single voicing for close voice major triads on the entire fretboard. That's a lot. But just to level the playing field, a major triad is the root, the third, and the fifth of scale tone of a target note that we're looking at. So for example, we're going to be in the key of G today. And if you think about the G major scale, the first five notes, G, A, B, C, D, G is the root, B is the third, D is the fifth. So we're going to be able to map out every combination of G, B, and D on the entire fretboard. As far as close voice is concerned, that just means that all three of those notes are close together. They're as close together as they can be, so that will put them inside a single octave. Close voice means within a single octave. Beyond all of that, just mapping those shapes on the neck and that matrix onto the fretboard, then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the architecture of how that maps out on the neck. Not just the shapes and the fret numbers, but how those chord tones move and invert along single sets of strings, as well as how, it's very interesting, how the chord tones hopscotch across sets of strings when you're building the chords vertically across string sets. Ultimately, you're going to be able to play every single major chord on the neck, and that's going to give you tremendous freedom to be able to build or play chords wherever you are and whatever chord you need, whatever chord you happen to need to play at the time. Okay, let's just get started. There's a lot of information to cover here, so again, we're going to map out all of the triads for the entire neck for every close voice shape that's available. And then, as I said, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and get into the architecture, and I think that's where the lesson's going to have some real impactful value. These shapes alone should be quite liberating, but then understanding the mechanism behind it is going to be where we really sort of expand our knowledge of the instrument itself. Okay, close voice triads. Triads suggest that we're using three notes, so we're going to divide the guitar into three sets of strings. The high set will be the G, B, and E strings. The next set will be D, G, and B. The set after that, the lower set from there, will be A, D, and G. And then the lowest set will be E, A, and D. So we're going to be mapping sets of these shapes across those sets of strings, and then also up the sets as well. So I'll give you fret numbers here first. Again, there's a lot of shapes here, so I'm going to go a little bit quickly. I'll tab all of this stuff out. That's on the Patreon link in the description if you need to go there to get it. So let's just grab a hold and hang on here because we're going to go a little on the fast side. Okay, we're going to use this G bar chord just to sort of anchor ourselves and get us started on this journey. The first three sets of strings for these first shapes are actually inside this bar chord except for the last one, and I'll show you how that works here in a moment. But this is sort of our home base for now. And we're going to start with this triad on the very top of this shape, and that's on the G, B, and E strings. And on that set for this G major triad, we're looking at 4, 3, 3. The next set of strings here, which is D, G, and B, we're looking at 5, 4, 3. For the next set, on the A, D, and G strings, we're looking at 5, 5, 4. And then for that final set of strings, which is E, A, D, we're looking at 7, 5, 5. So all the triads available here on these sets of strings. Next set of triads starts here on the 7th fret. Now that should look like a D chord because basically it is that same exact voicing. Here's D, E, F, G. Right? So here's our G triad on the high set of strings, and that's basically on the set that is G, B, and E. We have 7, 8, 7. On the next set, which again is D, G, and B, we've got 9, 7, 8. On the next set of strings, which is A, D, and G, we have 10, 9, 7. And then the final set of strings, which is E, A, and D, we've got 10, 10, 9. The final glob of triads starts up here on the 10th fret. I don't even know if glob is actually a word, but it is now. Here we are on the 10th fret, and on this set of strings, that's G, B, and E, we have 12, 12, 10. The next set of strings, which is D, G, and B, we have 12, 12, 12. That should look a lot like an A chord. The next set of strings, which is A, D, and G, is 14, 12, 12. And then the final set, the final shape on the E, A, and D strings is 15, 14, 12. So that whole set looks like this. So there's every single G major triad you can play on the entire neck. Obviously, this pattern repeats up an octave, so I didn't quite get to those. They're way up there, and we're going to run out of neck anyway. But that's the entire matrix. There are no other shapes to play for close voice major triads anywhere on the neck. So that's a lot of information, and I went really fast. But you can rewind, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, what I want to do is look at the architecture and watch the geometry as we move these chords across the sets of strings like we just did. Let's find out what's going on there. And then, as we move linearly up a single set of strings, we want to explore that and see how that works. Okay, so let's go back to our home base. We're going to start with this triad that we started with earlier. This triad is 3-5 root. So it's B, D, G, 3-5 root. When you take this shape and you move it across sets of strings, we're going to be going down in pitch across the sets of strings. The mechanism is simply take the highest note and take it down an octave, and that sets you up for the next set of strings as you retain two common tones. Watch this. B, D, and G. We're going to take the G down an octave and retain these two common tones from the original triad. Now we have root 3-5. Now we take the fifth, this D note, down an octave. It happens to be here on the 5th fret of the A string. These two notes remain common to the triad we just left on that last set of strings. Then finally, here we are at 5 root 3. We've got the 3rd on the top, which is a B. When we take that down an octave, it's on the E string here at the 7th fret. So again, we keep these two common tones. So that's the mechanism going across sets of strings. You can do it in the inverse and just take the lowest note up an octave, but the way you cross these string sets is moving the highest or lowest chord tone in octaves. That's the mechanism there. Now, we want to see that same inversion mechanism across a single set of strings. So we're going to use this as the example, the G, B, and E strings. Here's our home bass triad, happens to be 3-5 root. The mechanism for moving up a single set of strings is just like a piano. It's like 3 little pianos here, really. We're going to take whatever chord tone we have here, and we're going to move it up to the next chord tone. So here we have 3, 5, root. The root moves up to the 3rd. The 5 moves up to the root. And the 3rd moves up to the 5th. 3, 4, 5. Do the same thing again. Here we are with 5, root 3. The 3 moves up to the 5. 3, 4, 5. The root moves up to the 3rd. And the 5 moves up to the root. There's the mechanism there. You're going to the next highest or next lowest chord tone on that same string set. Okay, so there it is. That's every single major triad that you can play for G. There are 11 other keys, and it's it's obviously important to go through this around the circle of fifths. I've tabbed out all this stuff on my Patreon page. That's linked in the description below. Grab that stuff if you need it. Otherwise, I hope that this expands your understanding of how the guitar is built and provides you enough freedom to build any chord you want, anywhere on the neck, whenever you need it. All right, I'll see you next time.